Okay, it's being recorded.
Thank you. This is the decision-making meeting for the executive member that covers contracting and procurement, all of the regulatory services, and also land and property, and also decisions about the budget of those service areas. And welcome everybody. And the first item on the agenda today is the monitoring report of decisions. Ian, Mr. Mulholland, do you want to say anything about that? I've got a couple of
not
comments.
really, just to say that this is as updated as it's ever been, and as thanks to Andrew for pushing this and getting everything completely up to date. So it's the best it's ever been.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. Just as a reminder, those that were on the first meeting, we had 37 items and it did go back some way, many years, but there are reasons why it went back. And that's actually been reduced through the hard work of officers down now to 28 items. And I need to ask, that's what it will become at the end of the meeting, because it's detailed in the narrative that some items will come off now, and there's different wording for that on the different items, and that you find those items throughout the report. Does anybody want to raise any questions or have any comments at all about the monitoring report? No, I'll look for hands raised, and if you're stuck at all, please just speak into the microphone. We don't have any, so this is just an item that provides an update for me. So thanks very much to everybody who's done that. The next item we have on the agenda is the Directorate of Corporate Resources Finance Report, and this is Q1, and this is an approval document. Mrs. Pollard, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this is the Q1 finance report for the Directorate of Corporate Resources. The key financial findings can be found on page 3, and the service-specific findings can be found on page 11. The Directorate is projecting to overspend by £20,000 at the end of the year. 100% of the savings programme for 23-24 has been approved and delivered. As previously requested by members in section 6.2.2, members can find an update on the indicative inflation factors, and the Executive Cabinet member is asked to note the contents of this report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions or comments on this report, Corporate Resources Finance Report at all? Okay, there aren't any indicated. I'm going to move to the recommendations, which are that I note the report, but that I also approve revisions made to the capital programme, which I can do because for this portfolio, we've got the revised programme, the revised allocation, and the position on the capital receipts for my portfolio set out in section 5 in Appendix E. Thanks very much. And I also authorise the Director of Corporate Resources to call off any matters under the framework, the capital programme framework. So thanks very much. The next item on the agenda that we can move to is the Directorate of Place Finance Report. This is an approval document. Thank you, Mrs. Pollard.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this is the Q1 finance report, as the Chair's indicated, for the Directorate of Place. The Directorate is projecting to overspend by £517,000 at the end of the year. There are no significant variances for this portfolio. The key financial findings can be found on page 3. The service-specific findings can be found on page 17. The 100% of the savings programme for the Directorate of Place has also been approved and delivered. Again, as members have previously requested in section 6.2.3, you can find an update on the indicative inflation factors, and the Executive Cabinet member is asked to note the report and make the approvals noted in the report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for that report. Are there any questions or comments at all on this Directorate of Place Q1 finance report? No. Okay. So I am going to note the Q1 financial position for the Directorate of Place. Now, pertaining to my portfolio, it does request if there were any capital programme matters for me to approve them, but on this occasion in the Directorate of Place there aren't any. You'll notice, members will have noticed the nil columns. And then the next thing I would have been asked to approve is authorise the Director of Place again to call off under the framework as regards the capital programme. But for me that isn't required, but I am noting the report. So thanks very much for that report today. The next item on the agenda is a sale of land approval document, land at a number of different sites in Bolton, and I'll ask Mr. Williamson, please, to go through that report. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Chair and Councillor. So this report is regarding the disposal of land in support of affordable housing, and it relates to 3 specific sites, Escrick Street, Cotton Street and Roxalina Street. So the report that the committee has access to is relatively detailed, but in summary, in 2020, a number of sites were approved for disposal under the Strategic Asset Management Plan, or SAMP. The 3 sites in this report were among the 16 approved in 2020, but further work since that date has indicated that in support of affordable housing, the disposal of land would need to take place with a so-called undervalue. Now, the Council has an obligation to meet best consideration in all disposals, but with regards to undervalue, that is justifiable if it meets social, economic or environmental objectives that the Council has at hand. And the 3 sites here very much are in line with our housing policy and also our Strategic Asset Management Plan. So the 3 sites all have offers on them at the moment from housing providers or RPs. In total, there would be approximately 150 affordable homes provided across the 3 sites should the disposals continue. Those comprise a range of accommodation from apartments to 2, 3 and 4 bedroom houses. The importance of this is high. The 3 sites and the 2 developers concerned, who are Bolton, Great Places, and Bolton at Home, that those 2 providers have secured external funding to the tune of £4 million that would be lost in early next year should the disposals not continue. A detailed equality impact assessment has been carried out for all 3 cases, which can be found to the rear of this report, and there are appendices that supply quite some detail on the 3 sites and also information about the housing policy and approach that we are pursuing over the next decade. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much for the full report. Yes, members should have had the main report plus four appendices. Three are about those land evaluations and valuations, and the other one is about our housing policy, particularly on adult provision. Are there any questions or any points or comments anybody wants to raise on this document today at all? Councillor Flitcroft, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to make a comment, if that's okay. I mean, I understand about these developments bringing value for the council in their developments, but I'm quite surprised at the difference in the offer price and the market value price on Escrick Street and Roxalina Street particularly. Is there any way that we could perhaps get any more money for them?
Does anybody want to give an answer for that, please, at all? Mr. Williamson?
Yes, I'd certainly be happy to come in. I think that's a fair question, Councillor, and I can assure the team that the officers have been pursuing robust discussions with the two registered providers for housing. Quite often there will be a difference in value because of the economics of affordable housing attracting a lower total value post-development. Typically, it would be 20% under the unrestricted market value of a property, but it can be less than that. And also, values in the report reflect, in some cases, quite some significant work that needs to be undertaken to the land in order to make it good, decontamination, and so on. So all of those factors have been built in. The three properties, should they be approved for disposal under these terms, will attract a capital receipt to the council of about 1.5 million, as well as obviously delivering the affordable housing, which is really much needed in the borough.
Thank you very much. And
can I just come back on that, please?
Of course, of course.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that, Andrew. But the land that needs work doing on it, they're receiving, am I right, a brownfield fund money to help with that as well. I just feel it's a huge gap in some of them. I trust what you're saying in that we are doing everything we can to try to get the best value from these places. But it smacks me at face of being a big gap. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Thank you for that comment, and that does speak to the decision making that I have to make. And for all of these meetings, I've had to have pre-meetings and read a lot of documents. And I think to provide any assurance I can, because I do have to make this decision, I would say that both the briefings and the documents on the evaluation and valuation, which are a considerable number of pages long, do provide a lot of good explanation, as well as all of the explanatory information in the main document that's been put together by officers. I think the explanation about all the different matters related to affordable housing clearly sets it out and is persuasive as to why we've ended up in a position where we will, like other councils, sell at undervalue in order to get that social benefit as regards property for our citizens. And also, of course, the documents make it clear where these sites are and the difficulties that there are economically on these land sites when you look at where they are in Bolton. And of course, our officers have managed to, or have gained, a grant, not only the Greater Manchester Brownfield Development Fund, but also some Homes England funding. So yes, looking at the headline, it raises lots of questions, and to assure you that I've raised many of those questions before I come to make the decision. Let me just check if there's anybody else with any questions or comments at all about this matter that's got a notable money value to it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to approve the disposal of council-owned land at less than market value to Bolton Community Homes registered provider partners and authorise the borough solicitor to complete that legal documentation. And I have fully considered that the purpose for which the land is to be disposed of at an undervalue is likely to contribute to the promotion of improvement of social well-being, one of those three, of the areas as set out in the general disposal consent. Thank you very much. And that brings our meeting today to an end. Thanks very much indeed. And Mr. Mulholland will end the meeting and the recording.